Hello, good evening, everyone, or good morning, wherever you are. It's really great to be back. As promised, I'm here today as well. Today, we will talk about more refactoring. And as I did yesterday, I didn't do any preparation for the course, so we will see the thought process of someone who's doing a refactoring about some code that he has written earlier. So, a bit of history why I do this and why we are doing this actually. The reason comes from the fact that we actually created an application for our release for AWS Amplify. And this application was a shopping list application. And this shopping list application was actually working really well and so on and so forth. But there was one main problem. There were two requests that I wanted to do. One of them was actually someone from the community asked about how we can create a version of this with the state management. So it will require some extra architecture, I would say. The other part was if we can have a finalized version of this. The finalized version, we already pushed it out. And right now, what we do is we are actually creating a version of this application by using the finalized version of the branch. And what we're going to do is we are going to carry on with creating qubits, blocks, whatever you want to call them, and just refactor our application. And at the end of the day, what I would like to do is I would like to get a nice application that is having a clear architecture, and we will write tests and so on and add more features in the future. Today's stream I'm thinking about should take around 1.5 hours, like maybe a bit longer. So stick around, ask your questions. It doesn't have to be about this. It can be about the way I think. It can be about anything else. One of the reasons that I do these live streams are like I want to answer your question. So whatever question that you have, I'm already here to answer it. All right. Okay. So if you're ready, let's get started. Let me share my screen really quickly. Perfect. Actually, I will put myself to here so you can see it. I put it like this, but in case you don't see it, just put it as a comment so I will be aware of it. So in the last live stream, yesterday, let me rerun this. What we did was we created a version of this add grocery item view in the dumbest way possible. It has some callbacks, and overall, it doesn't have any references to any packages that we use. So it doesn't have a reference to qubit block, but also it doesn't have a reference to the amplifier as well. Someone asked, can we ask a question in Turkish? Yes, you can. It is completely fine. I will try to answer it. First, I will translate it, then I will answer it in Turkish and English to, accommodate everyone. All right. So back to the topic. So where we were at was like we were actually refactoring the finalized grocery view part. In the finalized grocery view, we had a grocery finalizer type definition, and this type definition also had items and current grocery accompanying it. And you can see that in the UI part, these are just used. And if I go to the top, you can see that I have references to my models, which is fine. And also I have reference to the file picker, which is also fine because it is related to the Flutter side, but I do not have a reference to the block or amplify. So rule of thumb is we need to have a reference to the only things that are related to the UI. Okay, so how am I going to use finalized grocery view with qubit or block then? We can do the same thing that we are going to do. We will create a qubit here and just do this stuff in the qubit. And later on, what we are going to do is you can see that this is getting a bit out of hand. This is like getting to, like Hadouken. And in case you don't know what Hadouken is, let me show you Hadouken. So Hadouken was from Street Fighter. You can see that it is actually like getting a shape of Hadouken here. So we want to prevent this. We want to have a better version of this code. All right. So first things first, let's create a qubit. For creating a qubit, you need to go new and qubit class. this comes from Felix's IntelliJ IDEA block plugin. So I didn't write this plugin. If you add it, it is going to create a qubit and the state class. So you don't need to deal with all of these stuff. So what I'm going to do is I will say finalize grocery view. And it is going to create a finalized grocery view qubit and the state. The reason also that we need to, like be aware of this is that like we are planning to have a qubit for each view. And the reason comes from the fact that we want our qubits to be representatives of our UI as much as we can. And we want them to cover everything possible over there. So let's go back to our code. And what we need to do is first, we need to check our state. The states that we have might be, like quite straightforward. We can use not this. This shows that I have written some Kotlin today, but mainly what I want to have is I want to have the equitable, like I mentioned. If you do not know what equitable is, you can write it as a comment or ask it in the video chat later on as well. So once you do this, it is going to say that, okay, you need to add an override, which is the props. Props is the list that you're going to provide to your class so it can make a proper hash code and equals check for the objects that you create. The reason that is really important is that normally when you create two objects with the same properties, they are not going to be equal in the comparison side of like your memory or like anything else. What you need to do is you need to override the capabilities of comparisons by hash code and equals and say that, okay, I am taking charge here. And what I'm telling you is that you will use the properties, these props that I'm giving you to compare. So in case of the initial one, we will have the initial one. Of course, we will have the loading state as well, because, like, it's kind of needed. Actually, let me copy and paste this one because, there's no point of reinventing the wheel. All right. Besides this, we can have an error state. In the error state, we are going to have is we will have an error message because we want to represent what's going on in the screen. So I made a constructor here, and this constructor property should be added into the props to be able to compare it properly. All right, and same goes for grocery view success. The reason is that when there's a success state, we need to have property that we should first return, then we should let the users know about it. So what I'm going to say is I'm going to say that we need to create a grocery, and we will say that this is a grocery. Grocery is the item that has many grocery items. So grocery is the encapsulator of everything. It holds the information about grocery items, total amount, and so on. And lastly, we will create a constructor here as well. Okay. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to ask. I will just carry on. In the meantime, I will just check this out. So it's just like me doing some live coding and cleaning things up and, like trying to make a better image. Okay. So one thing that you can see here is that this onFinalize thing is actually doing many operations around here. What I would like to do is I would just say, okay, let's get rid of this first. I will keep this one because this takes care of the local state. Later on, we will also get rid of this while we're doing the refactoring, because this should also be inside a qubit as well. We will take care of it. So first things first, what we need to do is we need to create a new, let's get rid of this. We need to create a new function, and we are going to say that void finalize grocery. All right. Right now, I don't know what to expect, so I will just paste the stuff first. So what it says is first, let's get whatever we need. First things first, this is expected to be a asynchronous operation. This should be a future, so I will just say that, okay, future async, to make this whole function to accommodate future operations. Okay. Okay, the question is, okay, I will read it in Turkish, answer in Turkish, then do the same in English as well. So, blok MVVM mimarisinde tamamen view modelu karşılıyor diyebilir miyiz? Blok MVVM mimarisinde view modelu karşılayabilir diyebiliriz. Ama sadece o işi yapar diyemeyiz. So the question is, if block is the equivalent of the view model in the MVVM architectural approach, and I answered as view model can be block can be the view model, but it doesn't have to be. Also, bu arada orada yazı şekline bakarak blok o tamamen hani yaklaşım şeklinin adı. Dolayısıyla benim tavsiyem mutlaka ve mutlaka hani blok derken blok taneciyi, burada qubit'i kastediyorum. Tamamen blok mekanizmasını değil. By the way, he has written the block as BLOC in the old way, like this. And this means that this is the whole architectural approach that we can do without the block libraries as well. So when we say block, we just mean the block in the way that comes with the block library. So in this case, we will call them qubits, all right? Okay, let's continue. So the other thing that we need to do is we need to see that there are several things. We can also get rid of this. We can also get rid of this. Let's do this. It says couldn't infer the type because it didn't understand what a grocery is yet. All right, so first things first, what we need is, in here we need a string file path to make our life easier. Also, we need a string ID, right? And we need a double of total amount, right? And we need a title as well. String title. And I want to also put this here. And last but not least, we need to have a reference to the current grocery to be able to update it. So what we need is, we'll say grocery, current grocery. Okay, one thing to keep in mind is that like we can do a cleaner version of this and we will do it. But right now, the main objective is, again, we're trying to pull things out of the UI and make them as dumb as possible so we can actually test the UI components as well. All right, so everything seems to be working here. Everything that we need is around here. What we need to do is we need to add the qubit here. Why did I do it this way? I will teach you really something really important. By the way, I thought the camera was here twice, so I will look at it from here. So there's something really important to keep in mind. In the widgets, in the widget tree, you do not need to go, as I mentioned, the Hadouken way. What you need to do is you need to be properly splitting your widgets. You might be seeing that some people are using functions, but you should not. You should create stateless widgets. You should pass down the variables that you're going to be using with them and just either try to reuse those private widgets or just for the sake of being easier to read and actually taking advantage of the widget tree, just use the stateless widget at that point. All right. So what we need to do is we will create a stateless widget. This widget will call finalize grocery view. So okay, I couldn't write, so let me do my finalized grocery. Finalized grocery. Okay, the underscore in the beginning makes this a private widget. So what do we need to do? What we need to do is we need to copy all of this stuff that it does in here, right? And say that like finalize, okay. finalize grocery view here. That should stay here for now. I'm not, let's get rid of the noise for now. And what we need to do is we will just paste everything that we have to here. You can see that we have a couple of things here. We have the items for the like finalized grocery view. We have the current grocery item, and we have all the stuff that are provided to us as well as clearing up the items as well. So for doing those, what we need to do is we need to pass down this information as, by the way, we need to use this in here as well. I will just say finalize course review. Okay. Another important point to keep in mind is that, like, you can see that we have split things into two widgets. Like, for example, here, one of them is the mobile version of it. The other one is the desktop and web version of it. So we need to also push these out as well. Okay. And there's another question I think is really important. So I'm going to first read and answer in Turkish, then I will read and answer in English. Okay. Clean Architecture'da use case kullanmanın faydası nedir? Neden direkt repository katmandan metodları çağırmıyoruz? Şimdi şöyle bir şey var. Use case dediğimiz zaman use case'e sadece ve sadece onun kullanacağı şeyleri atıyoruz. Bir tane repository düşün, tamam mı? Pardon, bir tane business logic kısmı düşün, tamam mı? Use case'leri kullanmayan. Ve o business logic kısmından repository çağırmaya çalıştığımız zaman repository içerisindeki tüm kaynaklara erişimi olacak. Biz bunu istemiyoruz. Bizim istediğimiz şey olabildiğince olayları kısıtlamak. Use case kullanmanın amacı bir, tekrar kullanabilir küçük kod snippet'ları oluşturup istediğimiz yere enjekte edebilmek. İki, kodun bazı parçalarının ulaşmaması gereken yerlere ulaşmamasını sağlamak. Okay, the question was, why do we use cases in a clean architecture? What's the benefit of it? Why don't we just call the repository? And the answer was, there are like mainly two answers. One of them is we want to be able to create the reusable code snippets, okay? We want to create dedicated code snippets so they can be used in multiple places. The second reason that we do it is these code snippets also limit the amount of information that is transferred to the business logic. So when they try to call a data layer, they do not need to know the reports, the information. They do not need to know if something is happening in the local or the remote. They really just need to know what they need to do. So this way you can just say that, okay, login use case, and just pass down that information. Those will call the necessary information. And this way you can split it, and each use case can be mocked and tested. This is the main reason. Okay, I'm liking this bilingual question answering. So shoot if you have any questions. All right. So another point is, you can see that I have a show dialog and so on and so forth. And exactly the same thing in the model bottom sheet for view, like for the mobile. So I would like to just take this out, this like consumer, and put it to a widget again, because I do not want to have this Hadouken code here. I just want to provide the widget and be done with it. So what I'm going to call is, I'm going to call this widget. It's going to be a stateless widget, and I'm going to say add grocery item view. You can see that the names are not colliding because I have this underscore. And one more time, this underscore means this is going to be a private thing. So I'm going up, and just let me collect all of these stuff and say that this is going to be add grocery item view here, and this is going to be pasted here. Whoa, let's reset to the 21, so it goes back to the same thing that it was before. And we will fix all of these, don't worry. We are just doing, again, like refactoring. Please do not be afraid of doing refactoring, because this will actually help you in the long run. This will actually teach you to be more mindful about your architecture, as well as being actually really on top of things that you have. All right. So we have this stuff we are going to be fixing. We have this also that we are going to be fixing later on as well. So I'm going up. You can see that it is shouting to my face to use this. I'm just going to say const for now. This is probably going to be removed later on, but it's okay. I'm also going to remove this one as well from here and just call this const for now too. I'm going to get rid of this and bam. Like now, if I make this like smaller, don't mind if you can't read, we will go back to where we are again, but it is already starting to look more closer to the left. So we would like to stay close and readable as much as we can. Okay, so let's go back to 21. All right, so we are showing a bottom sheet. Now we can see it. Okay, let's put this as well. We are showing a bottom sheet here. If not, we are showing a dialog. Again, like everything is nice, everything is tidy. So let's go back down a bit. You can see that same thing is happening around here as well with a list. Again, what we can do is we can also split this into its own widget as well to make it more readable. So what I'm going to do is I am going to add a new widget called stateless widget grocery items view. All right, and this is going to my grocery items view. So I am going back up. I am going to add this one here, and this is going to be a const as well. Okay, so folks, right now, so far what we have done is actually really cool. We have moved around some widgets that are actually like repeating itself. We have added 2 qubits in our case. We will add one more later on. And most importantly, we have repurposed our widgets. All right. So one thing to keep in mind is that you might be like wondering, what the hell am I supposed to do with this qubit and how am I going to like work with this? And the thing is that you can. And how you can do it is actually quite straightforward. We are going to use the callbacks that we talked yesterday and create the qubits in our own widget. And that should do the trick for us. In the meantime, I want to repeat that if you have any questions, I'm going to do live coding all the time, but if you have any questions, just drop it. I also promised another viewer that I will answer questions in 2 languages right now, English and Turkish. So if you have any questions in these 2 languages or even German, just drop it there. I will do my best to answer. All right. Okay, so let's go back to our topic. So one thing that is really important is that we have this add grocery item qubit, right? You can see that this add grocery item qubit is only used in this view. So why would I have a reference to it in this widget? It doesn't make sense. So what I'm going to do is I am going to actually cut all of these, go down and go to this. First, make this a stateful widget. Secondly, I will add these stuff. So you might be asking, why stateful widget and not stateless widget? Do we have any performance problems here? Do we have any like issues that we should be careful about? The answer is no, you don't. You don't need to be afraid about anything. You don't need to care about anything here. The stateless and stateful widget are both are immutable. There isn't anything complicated. Stateful widget has some object called a state, and this state is actually used for updating the UI and restructuring the widgets. So you don't need it, but if you have it, it's not the end of the world. Okay. So at this moment, what we need in this class is we need the ID of the grocery, and we need to have a callback to update the items in the previous one, in the current grocery list page. So if we are ready, let's do this. First things first, we will go here and add final value setter. Say grocery item and say on item added. Okay. So if you have not worked with type definitions yet, and if you were not in the live stream yesterday, type definitions are the signatures that you can use to rename or repurpose a set of actions. For example, you can have a void function that can have any type that you define. This, you can call it a value setter in this case. We have used it in other pages like grocery item setter. We created this grocery item setter to be able to, define our callback function more precisely. Okay, so let's go back to the where we are at. And the other thing that we needed was final string grocery ID. All right. So what we need is we need to add these two properties here. And as a rule of thumb, I recommend putting the required ones first, the optional ones later on. And with the new like dot version, you can even get rid of this and say super dot key here as well. This should work fine. Anyway, but let's keep it as classic as possible so you all can follow along. Okay, now we have on item added and grocery ID properties. Next thing that I'm going to do is I am going to get rid of this and I will go back. Let's go back. Okay, I will go back to the place that I call this list. I will get rid of the cons because it's not going to be cons anymore. I will say that grocery item. This is the first thing that we have done. The second thing that we are going to be doing is grocery ID, grocery.id. All right, so this is done. Same thing is happening for the one above as well. I will just get rid of everything, put everything to the right place, and bam, it is done. Okay, so at grocery item view is done. It is like looking nicer now. It is more readable. So I will just update these red areas with part that we are providing. And yeah, it seems like at grocery item view is actually working fine. So let's go back to the grocery items view. Grocery items view is actually looking for an items list to provide everything. So what we need to do, we need to provide the list of things that it requires. And how we do is we will just say final list was the list of items that it provides. It requires a grocery item list. So I'm just going down and saying that final list grocery items here, and say that required this dot items. All right. Okay, so items is here. We have the list around here, and everything is working in this part. Last but not least, now it is time to finalize the grocery view. The grocery view requires a qubit call from us like the others. So what we need to do is we need to first create the qubit, then use it with our widget. So how do we create it? Well, we will do the same thing that we do. We will create late finalize grocery view qubit. By the way, overall, what I would recommend is like always try to use finals const underscore, which is meaning that it should be a private property. Try to use them. Try to use it in a way that it blocks the others to have a reference to these items, because this way you will be able to actually just get the information directly that you need. Like you will get the information that you need directly. Okay. All right. So back to where we left off. So we also need the items property in this property and the grocery property to give the current grocery information. Why do we need the current grocery information here? Let's see. Only for the ID that we don't need to pass the whole widget, whole uh, object for this. We will just say string current grocery ID, current grocery ID here. We will go down and say current grocery ID. So you can see that we also got rid of another property that is grocery ID. All right. So in here, what we need to provide is first we need to have string. We need to provide a grocery ID. Let me check the qubit. Yeah, we need to provide the current grocery. Why do we need it? Because we want to copy the current one with the total amount, the file key, and so on. So for this one, we definitely need the current grocery. So let's say final grocery. This is the first thing that we need. The second thing that we need is we need to have a callback called void callback. This means you will have a void function, let's say on finalized. All right. This means that we need to have void function that is having zero properties to the function, and it's just going to have a callback. And last but not least, we need to have final list grocery item and say items as well. So we might be taking this information from the grocery as well, but let's see. We will just say widget.grocery here. Okay, we need to say ID because it should be grocery ID. And lastly, we will have this callback call from the place that we call the widget. Okay, now that we have this, let's keep this. I will update it later on, but first things first, let's call the ones that we need here. All right, so on finalize should be doing this. On finalized should be also from here, called from here. I would say void callback. That is why we are going to be using the state management, by the way, because it is like passing this all alone. It's not, it doesn't make sense. So I will just say on finalized, all right, and say on finalized here. I will go back and I will take care of this one. Say on finalized, okay, and with this widget, say set state items dot clear. Okay, so first things first. It is saying that also we need to have an item, so I'm going to say items to be added here as well. So this is working. Now we have the final grocery stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pass this as on finalized. So we are not bothered with anything that it requires. And I'm going to add this one here. And it is going to ask me to add grocery in the items as well. Items is going to be items. So we already have that. So I will also put this to items. Items 2. What we need to do is we need to have the grocery. Grocery. Do we have it? No, because we need to pass it along here as well. So I will just say final grocery, grocery. Okay, so now we have it. I can just put this here. I will just put this here as well. and it will have a grocery property. I will go back here and add the grocery item here as well. Okay, by the way, I found out why it did not work with the devices yesterday, why the UI was complicated for the new UI of the IntelliJ. The reason is that the new IntelliJ doesn't allow you to pick a new device. I tried to edit like manually, but it didn't work. So for the live streams, for now at least, we are stuck with this old view. Anyway, so we have somehow a bit more clear, more reusable version of whatever we have. So what we need to do is we need to create the objects for our new qubit, this finalized like this finalized grocery. Let's do finalized grocery view qubit. So first thing that we need to do, we need to write init state and create the qubit. Say finalized grocery view qubit. This is the first thing. The other thing that we are going to do in the dispose after it is dispose, what we need to do is, by the way, I did it wrong. So this will be here, and this will be here. And the same thing will go for this bad boy as well. So this will go here, and this will go here. So as a rule of thumb, again, keep in mind that if you would like to create a variable in an init state, do not create it before the super call. Do not write anything before the super call. Always do it after. With dispose, you can write it before though. Keep in mind. Okay, so let's carry on. Now I have created the grocery finalized grocery view qubit. What I need to do is I need to create a block builder, and this block builder should have finalized grocery view qubit and finalized grocery view state. So this will take care of this. I will just add block is the qubit that we have. See, like in the previous versions, it was like sticking around and causing a bit of a kerfuffle, but in here, we don't need it. We can just use and read it properly. So in this one, what we are going to do is we will call finalize grocery here, the file path, the ID, title, total amount, and the grocery. The grocery will be part of this as well. I will just put a comma here. So this way it is like one after another. Okay, each property will get whatever they are required to get. And this way you can see that it is working fine. Okay, so we have done some work around block. Let's go back and see again like why we're using block. So in case you missed it yesterday, they are going to see some cool stuff. So first thing that you are going to see is the emit function. The emit function is the function that you use to emit the new state. So in this case, we are going to use finalized grocery view loading state. So until these operations are done, it is going to emit the loading state. If there's an error, it is going to emit the finalized grocery view error state. Okay, this is the second thing. If everything is all right, we are going to emit the success state. Finalize grocery view success with the new grocery item. Okay, so we have emitted all the processes that we can use. So everything is looking like they should work. And let's go back and use this as an opportunity to recreate our builder as well in a way that, okay, what should happen when it's loading and so on and so forth. The UI will not be optimal, but again, like we will take care of it later on. So we will say that if the state is finalize loading state, what we are going to do is we will return a circular progress indicator, okay? This is the first thing. The second thing is if the state is the error state, what we are going to do we are going to return a text that keeps the states error message here. And you can see that after we are sure that this is the error type, I do not need to do any casting because Dart's type inference understands that this is a finalized grocery view again. So, and with the success and initial state, what we are going to do is we will just do this. The one thing to keep in mind again, when everything is successful, we still need to call the onFinalized, and we have not called it yet. And what we can do is we can call something called block consumer, okay, which has listener part to take care of the side effects that we have. What kind of side effects? Creating dialogues, dismissing and doing some navigation operations and many more. And also doing the set state operations. So in this one, I will say if the state is finalized versus view success, then what I'm going to do, I will just say call onFinalized. Okay, so in the Dart analysis, we seem to not have any trouble. We have only 2 warnings, but these are the warnings from the generated files. In case you want to exclude them, in case you want to exclude the analysis options on the generated files, what you can do is you can go back to here and say exclude and just mention, for example, the files under lib models. Okay. Let's see. Let's see for a second. It is still running. It did not work. Let me do this. Okay, let's do this quickly. I just literally wrote an article about this a couple of days ago, so I will just go to my blog and take care of this. I will answer your question in a second. I will just write exclude. It is under the analyzer and not here, so we will create a new title. It's going to be under analyzer, and it's going to be lib models. If not slash, then I will take care of this by removing this lib models. Why it is still showing them? Why it is not doing what it's supposed to do? Lib, just under lib, right? Lib models under this. Okay, it is gone. I'm still trying to fix it, even though it's fixed. Anyway, so let's answer one question in the meantime. Okay, the question is first in Turkish again, then in English, like I do since the beginning of the live stream. So, bir sayfanın birden fazla qubit olabilir mi? Kaç qubit'e bölmemiz gerektiğini nasıl anlarız? Okay, the question is, can a page have more than 1 qubit? How would we know that we should split the qubits into multiple qubits? I'm going to say it depends on the use case. Can you give me a specific example so I can answer it better? Bir örnek verebilirsen öyle açıklayabilirim çünkü bu birazcık ucu açık bir soru. All right, let's go back and run the application and see how it is working. I forgot that I had coffee, so I will get a coffee as well. Okay, so it seems like it is loading. It is showing me what I want. So far, so good. Let's end the title and the item, and we will say, of course, your title is going to be live stream, okay? And the amount will be 25. And I'm going to pick the invoice that I created before as well. Or I can pick my beautiful picture. or whatever it is, on my picture from Las Vegas. Let's pick this one because it's nice. So it seems like something did not work properly. It said the success state cannot be emitted after calling close. The reason is that it seems like we have disposed our qubit and we shouldn't have. So we will go back and take care of it. In the meantime, let's restart the application. You can see that there's nothing because normally it actually sent everything back, but we had an error along the way to show that this state was not successful. Anyway, let me add a new item and say that this is going to be keyboard like 3. All right. And why it's not loading. Okay, first of all, you can see that I have this live stream item here with everything that I had. We have this weird UI error from yesterday as well. We don't need to take care of it now. But more importantly, why can't we add a new item here? Anyway, we can go back to that place in a second. Probably during the refactoring, we have like broken some place. One important point to mention is that these can happen, and how you can actually do the refactoring without breaking something is actually by writing tests. This is another point of writing tests as well. Like you write tests and play around with these. If you run them now, you would see that, okay, everything is like, for example, messed up or something if they're not working. Okay. So what we need to do first, we need to fix the problem of adding new items. Second thing that we need to do is we need to be sure that the success state is working fine. And last but not least, we need to do some more cleanup on the current grocery list page as well. All right, so let's get started. First things first, let's rerun the application and be sure to understand what's going on, okay? So we are running the application now. Let me get a coffee. So you can see that like there are no current groceries and no current groceries actually around here. So we need to be sure that we have the items. And for assigning the items, what we call is we are calling this fetch current grocery function. So everything should be everything should be in the right place. So I will just say again, keyboard or not working. Let me log out and log in. My amazing super secret password. One more time, I will say banana 5. Okay, right now we seem to be not able to add it for sure. So for understanding this one, what we need to do is we need to go to that grocery item view. And in the grocery item view, let's be sure that we are calling them on item added. And you can see that we are not calling the on item added. And why is that? The reason is that, let me reset this. The reason is that we need to say widget on item added here. This is the first thing. And this should be state.grocery item. So on the UI, we will be able to show it, but still there's another problem. We are not able to get this from the other side, get this from the cloud. So let's go back to our qubit and try to understand if there was a problem while running this. So what I will do is I will add a print error here to be able to see that if we are like seeing an error because we are not seeing anything. And one of the reasons that we are not seeing anything is that this seems like it is definitely a success state. Other way around, we would be actually seeing the error message in the place that we are seeing a progress indicator or the item view as well. Okay, so we have all of these in this. What is the difference between success state and the regular state? Absolutely nothing. All right, I will just get rid of this and I will say this is else. Okay, and let's get started. We are hitting almost the 1 hour mark. I'm seeing like some people coming and going, but overall, like there are many people here, which is really cool. So what we are going to do is we are going to actually do some like debugging, and we are going to see where was the okay, we will see it around here. Why am I looking for more? Anyway, so let's go back here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to add an apple, say 4. So we seem to have it right now, but I want to restart it and see that it is going. So because this shows that there was a problem with the addition. So let's go back to here and see that like what is the result? What happens if we were able to add the item? So I'm going to say that print result. All right, let's restart it. Okay. So in the meantime, it runs. There's this question. Let me answer it. So the question is, for example, if there's a application and there's a drop down and there's a customer and warehouse, and with these settings, I'm able to see which one to show on the map. So for these three, should I have a qubit for customer, the support, and the dropdown? The answer is no, because all of them belongs to the same page and they are doing something related. So overall, they should have one qubit. If it's too long, you can split it into functions or you can bring out the reuse parts if you have any in the other pages just to another repository or like anything else or even use cases. But I would not recommend just splitting this into 3. That would be an overkill. Okay, I have 5 to, I would say, keyword again. And seems like I'm able to add this. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to check out on the Amplify console if these items are like already there, if these items are working for me. And I'm going to use something called Amplify Studio for this. Probably this won't work, so we might be needing to enable this. So what we need to do is first I will go to my AWS console. And for the AWS console, what I'm just going to log into my account. And after I log into my account, okay, for logging into my account, I need to use some other stuff. Just a second. I do not want to distract you with the other stuff. So this is going to make the live stream a bit maybe slower, but don't worry, I will close it right after I open my console. Okay, so I open up my console. Okay, we are going to be able to log in to our system, and it's not working. Console. Okay, I'm going to pick Amplify console here. And in the meantime, let me get myself here. And let me try to open the console quickly. I just try to understand what the hell is going on with this console. Okay. I will quickly open the console. With one if like bir tane qubit dosyasıyla çok büyürse yapacak bir şey yok. Yani bunu o zaman ortak görevleri olanları ayrı repolara falan bölebilirsin. For the ones that are like if the qubit file is getting too big, then like I said, you should be able to just use the use the repositories and like the other stuff as well, because those are the ones that are making sense in this case. I wouldn't be, like to putting too much meaning into qubit being too big or something, like it's not the end of the world. Okay, so I have my console open. I'm just going to open my application. I'm using the Frankfurt one, so I will just share my screen really quickly. I'm not just showing you my face. So there we go. What we need to do is, after you open up your application under Amplify, you need to set up Amplify Studio. Amplify Studio is a really nice website that is coming with the Amplify tooling as well, that you can visualize your backend operations, as well as you can actually create your data layer over there. You can create connections between, and it will be really cool for you. All right, so the setup can take a couple of seconds, and in the meantime, the reason that I'm opening this up is basically I would like to see if these are added, like if these are working fine. That's why I'm keeping the ID of this, to check if this is saved. If not, then we will take care of it. Okay, the Amplify Studio is enabled, so I'm just going to start it. Okay, I will just go back to here and say Launch Studio. You can see that with my application, I have the pop-ups. I have the API authentication and file storage here. All right, so it seems to be loading. You can see that I have the content, the user management. For example, I can see my user here that is confirmed. I can see the files that I have uploaded to S3 bucket during these processes. And lastly, I can see the data model. Or to use content management data. We need to go to the data now, apparently, and write save and deploy. Okay, we will just deploy the data really quickly to be able to see our content, and that should be fine. So it should take a couple of seconds. In the meantime, let's go back to our code. Okay. As you might remember, we had a couple of issues. One issue was when I saved the data, it was not persisted, even though it was persisted before. The other problem was I needed to actually, hold on just a second. I needed to actually finalize the content. When it was finalized, the finalized part was like kind of bumming us out. So let's go back to the finalized part. The reason that finalized part was having a trouble was, let's go back up. Okay, the reason was when I was disposing. So when I dispose this widget, I also dispose the qubit, which is already open. So what I need to do is I need to actually provide this block or qubit as part of this. Let's go 3 qubit as part of this, like as part of this widget. This way, when things are finalized and when this widget is like disposed, this qubit is not going to be disposed. How we are going to do the assignment of this, first things first, we will first write this to our constructor. Then in the constructor, we will call it. So let's go back up to here. And what I'm going to do, I will just add this to here. This way, when the time comes for calling this finalize grocery qubit thingy, we will just call it from here. Okay, so we have the finalize grocery view. Finalize grocery view is called from the grocery items list, and we will just again create another one, finalize grocery item view qubit, finalize grocery item view qubit, so on. But the thing is, you might be seeing a trouble here. I'm passing down this qubit all the time, but I said you can use provider with the qubits. So why am I putting myself to too many trouble? What I need to do is I need to actually provide this on the upper level in the widget tree. And how am I going to do this is first I'm going to write context.read, say finalize grocery review qubit. This is going to be that, and say this one. So this is the first thing that I'm going to do. The second thing is I am actually going to go up here and say that block provider, which is going to be the provider that we are going to be using, dot value, because we already create the a block around here. So I would just say, what was the name? Finalize grocery review qubit. Lastly, we will provide type of this value, and we will say finalize grocery review qubit. Okay, this should be value, not this. And I will get rid of this. What is it saying? It is saying that, hold on, the value should be, okay, the value should be just this, like why it was accepting any value, so that's why it was causing the trouble. Now we are providing this one from the very top. So anything that uses this actually is going to be able to use this. So first thing is we have fixed the like state problem that it has. The second thing is let's check this out. Okay, everything seems to be working fine. And it is saying that, okay, in the Flutter side, do we need something? I don't think so. No, we do not need anything around here. So if we need to pull in the capabilities, what we need to do is we will just call this like it suggests us to do, and it says no change. So there's nothing we need to do. So we don't need to worry about anything. Perfect. Let's go back to the content now. And while it is loading our content, or should I run? Hold on. Content, run queries, invitations, and so on and so forth. Yes, why does this page look different? Okay, because it requires me to use data store. Unfortunately, right now, data store is not supported for web and desktop as well. So let me get rid of this really quickly. All right, so first things first. We had some issues, we had some problems, but what we need to do is we need to fix them, right? And let's run this really quickly. Okay. Okay, I do not see anything to be added. It seems like it was added, so I'm just going to open up the console again to check out if I can see the data really quickly. I will just write amplify console here. All right. And say AWS console. Let's see if we can find it at data with the AWS console. All right, so we have the API here. I'm going to show you in a second. No worries. I'm just checking out if the items are created on my table. I'm just checking everything out. Okay, so let's go back to this. So you can see that I have like a couple of tables and so on, like everything. What I need to do is I need to explore the items, okay? There are several items that we see here. One thing that I would like to do is I would like to check if I'm saving these information here. So what I need to do is I will just first like sign out, then close the app, then restart the application again to be able to see the new item that I create and if it has a reference to it in the backend. Okay, the question is önce anlaşılmış qubit nesnesi block provider'ın create property'sine verirsek ne tarz sıkıntılar oluşur? Okay, the question is if we can, what happens if we give the previously created qubit object to the block provider's create property? For this purpose, you have the value named parameter. If you give that, it's you say that I'm creating this object and giving you the full control. But at the same time, this means that it is going to be removing this object anytime that it wants. So that is why you shouldn't use the create property for the previously created objects. Daha önceden oluşturduysanız, daha önceden oluşturmuş objeler için nokta value seçeneği var zaten. Onu kullanmanız doğru olan. Ben olsam onu kullanırım. Çünkü bu şekilde eğer create derseniz tüm kontrolü siz provider'a veriyorsunuz. Bu sefer provider objeyi kaldırdığında az önceki olan hata gibi der ki işte obje kaldırıldı, kullanamıyorum. Sizde kontrolün kalmasını istiyorsanız bu şekilde devam etmelisiniz. Alright, so let's go back. Let's sign in. Okay, I signed in. Now I will add a new item called sunflower seed and say 100. Okay, I have this item ID here. Let's see if we have it. I'm back. I'm restarting it. Seems like we have the sunflower seed here and seems to be added. So let's see what's going on when I query the data. What's the problem? So let me restart it. Okay, there's definitely a problem with the querying while we are actually passing down the data. So let me go back to this. We have the items, and I think I know what's going on, but I want to be sure. Okay. What I would like to see here is first, if I am getting the items here. The second thing is if the items are added as well. Okay. So let's redo this. And let's restart it. When the items are restarted, it seems like we do not reach to this position here. We seem to be around going to this. Like we seem to be going here. But the problem is we also do not create a new like grocery thingy, do we? I don't think so. So I will just say final result. Okay. And say print result. By the way, I also found out a way to get rid of the items in the meantime as well. So I'm just brainstorming here. It's really cool. It's really, really cool. Okay, so what we have here is we have, let me restart it. So the thing is, behind the scenes, it is actually calling the item that I need, and it is bringing the two open ones that seems to be open in my case. And if I go back here, if I restart this and try to find the grocery with this, you can see that it is here. Like it has the title, the total amount, updated at, and so on and so forth, and like anything else as well. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to get rid of this first and say actions, delete items, delete. The second thing that I'm going to do is delete this as well to have a fresh, brand new start. All right, so let's refresh it. Let's restart it. So here we go. Now we started our application again. We created, why do we create two new ones? This is interesting. Anyway, I don't care about the two new ones that I create. What I do care is I want to get uh, the query predicate response single owner. Okay, at this point I should be able to get something. At this point I should be able to, like see if I have any items here. So I will just also get this one until here and do. We are doing debugging. I'm doing nice debugging here. All right, so you can see that I have the items here, and if I say like dot single or null, I am restarting it. It is saying null and null. Why is it saying null? What happens if I say first? If I say first, it is still calling, but at least it is bringing me something. All right. Okay. I will get rid of this. I will say first to this because I know that there isn't anything here. I don't know why is it creating two. We will fix it later on. So I am just going to add this to dos here so we will not forget about it. Twice grocery list creation issue. This is the first thing. The second thing was we already fixed that. The third thing is actually creating a grocery item here. So I'm just going to say that I will say keyboard again and say 5. I want 5 keyboards here. Okay, now that I have it, I'm restarting the application again. The keyboard is back. So we fixed one issue. We still have the twice grocery view issue, but we can get rid of it later on. All right, so let me get rid of all of the prints that I did. So how is everyone feeling after seeing the success? So, okay, I got rid of this. Another question. Is there any resources that I can use to learn the logic of declarative programming? Şimdi deklaratif programlamanın mantığını anlamak için bence kullanabileceğin kaynaklardan en iyisi Flutter'ın kendi kaynağı. Ona bakalım. Flutter'ın kendi kaynağı Declarative UI Flutter diyeyim. Introduction to Declarative UI, Declarative Thinking. Bir de Android'in vardı. O da iyiydi. Değil. Thinking'in Compose. O şekilde anlayabilirsin. Tamam. Şimdi bu üçüyle önce ilerlemeni tavsiye ederim. Şu birincisi. Şu ikincisi. Şu da sonuncusu. Bu üçü seni bir başlatacaktır. Ama bu mindset'e girmek tamamen senin elinde açıkçası. Hani bence ne yapman gerektiğine sen karar vermelisin. Ne istediğine sen karar vermelisin tabii ki. Ama önemli olan buralardan bir başlangıcı oluştur. Sonrasında devam edebilirsin bence. Şimdi okay, let's continue. Now I need to do this. I need to do this. All right. Okay, let's go back. So what I need to do is I need to quit this and restart my application, restart everything from scratch. And here we go. Let's wait for it to start. Now we will see if the finalizing is going to work. and if we can start a new one as well. So I will just say, okay, it says this is not above this. So all good, all good. The reason comes from the fact that we actually try to, where was it? Provide it around here with this, while we should have actually, let me remove this widget, provided it around, not here as well. Yeah, it should have been fine because we have the grocery items view, and the finalize should be part of it. Okay, we can see it in the widget tree properly, probably better. So I will just keep everything as it is. Let's restart the application. Let's open the Flutter inspector. This way, Flutter inspector is going to show the widget tree for us and the level that is in. So you can see that, like, you can refresh the widget trees, and when I say and shopping, what you can see that we have block provider under the grocery items view. And let me collect these. And this is the item that we have. And it seems like we do not have the finalized one on top of here because it is not. Okay, gotcha. The reason that it's not there because these are part of the these are part of the like dialogues, and they're on the higher level. So what I need to do is probably, if I can do this here, let's try this. Let's try to do this and do that, and restart the application and see if it's going to work. Should it would have been nice if I had an elevator music, right? I will take care of it. Okay, it is still not working. It is saying that it's not in scope and so on, so forth. So we do not have this around here because, let me rerun this. This is here, this is here. Okay. If it's not here, it's not here. I will just remove this widget. I will go back and get all of these stuff. I will take care of the closing later on. I will just go to the finalize cursor view here and just widget here, but do not dispose it. I will just say that this is block, qubit here, and add another point to my to-do list and say dispose the qubit. Okay. And the question is, shouldn't it be on top of the material app? No, ya öyle olmasına gerek yok. Öyle olmamasını sağlayabiliriz. Onu ben sağlayacağım. I will take care of it. It doesn't have to be that way. I will take care of it. For now, let's leave it as it is, and we will just rerun the application. We will get this and call this DC live stream. Say total amount 23. Analyze the grocery, get the invoice that I created beautifully, and it says usable contact status and ancestor. Could not find why. Okay, because we could not find it because we actually did not provide it to all the way down. So we have this, and that should be here. And let's go one more time. Let's go one more time. Third time is the charm. All right, I'm ending this, saying that DC live stream again, and say 44. I am keeping This one here seems like everything is added, but it seems like it is still keeping the grocery list. I will check why it is still keeping it now. We have the widget finalized. We have the on finalize in both places, and this on finalize is actually clearing things out. Okay, I will take care of this anyway because actually I think I can get rid of these items. Anyway, next I will get rid of the items, so all good. So first things first, let's see the finalization. You can see that I have the live stream. I will just add another one, say that UI issue in the detail. We will fix this. The beauty of this is that we will be able to actually fix it together, so you will learn how you can deal with this as well. All right, so first things first. Last thing before I end this live stream is that I want to get rid of these items if I can. So first thing is I'm adding this stuff to my items, but the thing is every time that I add something, I actually do not need to do it. So let's try to get rid of these things. I'm just going to say that on item added, this should be gone. By the way, I need to create a new branch and call this well architected version. So it's here, and we have the items. So we already have the current grocery, right? And we have the grocery items as well. And if the grocery items, by the way, grocery items can be null. If it is null, that means like it is true, then it should have a current grocery. And what we need to do is we will have grocery.grocery items here. And we are saying that, okay, this is actually a grocery item for us. Okay, the on finalize is done as well. Last thing that we will take care of is this one, because again, we do not care. If it works, that will be perfect. If it doesn't work, then again, I will call this off for today and we will continue later on next week. Okay, so let's try to add an item. Not hello, but let's see. Phone. Say we need 4 of these. So it seems like we added it successfully. So if I restart my application again, I should be able to see it. This is a good thing. So what we didn't see is that we didn't see a reaction on the UI about this, and we can fix it later on. We will fix it. We can fix it for sure. Okay, let's see if it works. Phone, say 1,000. Okay, for the 1,000, I'm going to use Amazing Amplify logo. It is updated, and when I restart, it is still keeping it here. Even though I have updated it, why do I see it? Why do I see this? This is interesting. It seems like I was not able to finalize the grocery when I removed the items. Okay, anyway, let's go back to where we are at. So let me remove all of these. Okay, let's leave it from now. Let's leave it like this here today. And what we are going to do in the next live stream is that first thing that we are going to do is we will get rid of the items. Second thing is we will get rid of the twice grocery list error. We will dispose this properly. Before we dispose this, add more qubits. We will add more qubits and do more cleanups. And we will fix the UI issue as well. And in the next live stream, it should be around like 1.5 hours as well. So thank you very much, whoever you have joined so far. Thank you very much for joining. You can also check out the live stream later on as a video as well. I'm really glad to be sharing this journey with you. So thank you all and have a good day. Bye-bye.